Number 5. This happened like 15 years ago. It was school holidays and my friend, we'll call her Sarah, and I were extremely bored and just wanted to chill. This was summertime. We lived in a small town called New Braunfels in Texas. Everything kind of spread out. Anyways, it was around midnight and we didn't know where to go. So we just decided to go to the park. It's a little big. We were there for an hour or so. Nothing unusual. Until we both saw someone or something crouched on a table. First off, a little weird someone else being in the same park at this time. But what's creepy AF is that this person was crouching on top of a fucking table. He wasn't even sitting on the bench. What really fucked me up was, because I didn't look away, I kept looking closer. I noticed that there were wings. The body was completely human, but had fucking wings. The part that I'll never forget, all of a sudden the most blood-curdling scream, like a woman being stabbed to death. But it sounded like a woman but unhuman at the same time. Like a scream that a normal person doesn't do, but a scream animals can't even make. Almost like those screams in a movie that a demon or something makes. Then it just stands up, and this fucker has to be 8 feet tall. Minimum. We both ran as fast as we could. Have you ever ran to your lungs' max capacity? I ran until I had no air left in my lungs, and then kept running until I had to slow down because I was coughing too much. We knocked on PPLS doors and kept getting threatened that they have guns and will shoot if we don't leave. We were literally locked outside with this thing. I kept looking into the sky because this reminded me of Jeepers Creepers the movie. After maybe 20 minutes, the police show up and of course think we're on drugs, but wanted to let us go. I walked the rest because I lived a few blocks away. The police drove my friend home. There was a white cop and a Mexican cop. When the Mexican cop heard the story, he pretended like it's just made up, but the look on his face said he knows something about this thing that nobody knows. I have PTSD now and hate going outside alone at night, especially near parks or the woods. Weird PPL don't really scare cops. Animals don't really scare cops. But you know it was something much worse if a cop lies and can't keep a straight face because of fear. Like I said, it's a story that happened and I remember clear as day, but a story nobody believes. Tried making it as short as possible. Number 4. Country lanes in the UK are pretty narrow and have lots of blind bends. I was driving down a lane and there was a cyclist in front of me in the middle of the road, not wearing a helmet, and heading toward a completely blind bend. I suddenly thought if a car swings around that bend, they are going to smash into the cyclist and pin him to my car. It was like a Final Destination vision. I couldn't hear or see another car, but I saw this accident so vividly in my mind. I immediately slammed on my brakes, honked my horn and pulled over. The poor cyclist guy shat himself and stumbled to the hedges. Mere seconds later, some idiotic teenager comes speeding out of the blind corner and missed us by inches. If we were still in the road, this guy would have plowed straight through the cyclist and into my car. I completely freaked out, to the point the cyclist came over to calm me down. I don't remember much, but I know I was saying you were dead over and over again. I'm not a religious person at all, but that's the closest I've come to believing in some kind of divine intervention. Number 3. My name is Noah and I'm 15. This story is based on true events encountered by my brother, who is currently 12, and me. This happened when I was 13. Me and my brother used to have a wardrobe filled with random costumes, from Spider-Man to Indiana Jones, etc. We would always dress up and roleplay in our backyard, which was basically a big square if you looked at it from above, and had a metal fence all around it. Anyways, on this particular day, I was dressed as Indy, and my brother was dressed as Woody from Toy Story. We were role-playing as if I was captured and Woody needed to save me, or something like that, doesn't really matter. It was in autumn when the days started getting shorter, and it turned dark really quickly. We were just about to jump from the window, surviving a massive explosion of dynamite behind us, when I heard a whistle coming from somewhere around us. We both heard it and started looking around. Keep in mind that it was dark at that moment. After we looked around, seeing nothing, we heard another whistle. "Over here," said the man that was leaning against the fence, staring at us with his eyes being red as if they were filled with blood. Now, me and my brother were both scared shitless when we saw him. He was a middle-aged man wearing a brown leather jacket, dirty jeans, and some really old white shoes. His hair was long and greasy. My brother was really scared and held onto my arm, shaking in fear. I looked at the man and yelled, "Get off of our fence, mister! I'll call my dad." He looked at me with an angry and frightening expression. What happened next was the thine that scarred me for life. The man jumped over the fence and started walking towards us. My brother started crying, and I screamed for help. I was also crying as the man picked up the pace, and I led my brother with me to the other corner of the backyard. We both screamed as he got closer and closer until I heard my dad scream from the porch, "Get the F***CK away from my kids." My father was 52 at that time, and I've never seen him run so fast. He charged at the man and knocked him down. He started beating the man and didn't stop until he was knocked out cold. He then got up and ran over to us as my mom, grandparents, and my aunt and uncle ran outside in shock as they saw the man laying in the grass. Our mom ran over to us and cried along with us, relieved that we weren't hurt. My uncle and grandpa held the man down as he tried to get up and run away, while my aunt called the police. After about 5 minutes, we heard the sirens. 3 policemen came up into the garden. 2 of them picked up and led the man into the car, while the other policeman came over to us and said that we'll have to come to the police station to make a statement. We went to the police station, made the statement, and went back home. Our parents, my brother and me, slept in one bed all together because we were all in shock. The next day, Detective B. Jaksich, the name is known, but won't be shared for privacy reasons, came to our door and we found out that the man was a serious sex offender. I am so grateful that my brother and I weren't harmed, but I still don't know what would have happened if my family wasn't home. I don't think I even want to know. Number 2. So for some context, I am a teenage male with long dark hair, and this happened maybe an hour ago when I was home alone. I saw all these videos on YouTube about Omegle horror stories and pranks. Now I'm not particularly brave or anything, but I will do something if I'm bored. After thinking for a while, I built up the courage to go on Omegle. I wanted to be funny, so I wouldn't respond to anything they said. I then came across this guy that kept saying for me to talk or else. And being a teenager, I wanted to make him mad, so I asked what he would do in chat. All he said was, "You should talk more," and then left. I felt pretty proud of me being a jerk, but slightly disturbed, so I turned Omegle off and went to my tutoring class. After a few minutes of Khan Academy with my tutor, I heard my dogs barking, and they wouldn't stop even when I took them into another room. I figured maybe somebody made a loud noise or had a dog whistle. Boy, was I wrong. After calming down my dogs and getting back to tutoring, I heard the noise this time. Somebody had knocked on my back door. My back door is gated off with a 4-foot fence and a lock. The only way somebody could get in is if they had a key or jumped over it. After looking outside for about 10 minutes, I called my stepdad and told him everything. He told me that when he gets home, he'll look around. I accepted that because he is a doctor and has a lot of work. Half an hour passes, my dogs are outside, and I hear a thump outside my door. I looked around, there was a rock with blue paint on it. After that, I heard my dog barking at our driveway. I have never been this scared in my life. I just feel lucky to have 3 dogs in my house at all times. Now, I'm not the kind to show emotion or get scared easily, but that freaked me out. I'm shaking and on the verge of calling the police. And as I was writing this, I remembered that guy on Omegle. Now I'm scared for my life and my family. Number 1. The year is 2007, Quinlan, TX. I'm living with my aunt and uncle and their 3 daughters. It's a very normal weekend for us. Drove to Terrell to pick up some supplies at the Home Depot. The youngest is asleep. My aunt tells me to stay in the truck so that the baby remains sleeping. They all get out. My uncle leaves his phone behind. It's his work phone, so he hardly ever carries it with him. So I'm just sitting there fighting the urge to fall asleep as well. You guessed it, I dropped. Then my uncle's phone begins to ring. The call is from someone unknown. I answered because it could have been a coworker of his. "Hello!" I hear only heavy breathing and some horrifying noises in the background. "Hello, who is this?" I ask. A very deep voice answers, "Do you know who you're speaking to?" "No, I don't. That's why I asked." There's a pause before I ask, "Are you looking for my uncle?" Another slight pause. Meanwhile, I start to hear screams in the background. These weren't your typical screams of fright. They were blood-curdling. Chills ran down my entire body. The voice finally answered, "No, I'm looking for you." I shrugged it off but was a little frightened. "Look, whoever you are, don't call back." I hung the phone up. Within seconds, it's ringing again. I just stare at the phone with an unknown caller ID. It won't stop. I finally work up the courage to answer. "Look, stop calling or I'll..." I get cut off by the voice. "You really don't know who you're talking to. I'm the devil." My entire body went cold and I immediately hung up again. The phone rang again. "Look, whoever you are, stop calling or I'll call the police." Another pause. The screams are now amplified. "You don't believe me, do you?" the voice said. "I'll prove it to you. I will show up in the shape of a black dog." The call dropped. Now I'm panicking, watching the exit doors of the Home Depot, hoping that my aunt and uncle come out. Luckily, they did. I was relieved. As we pulled away from the depot, I looked towards the street and see a black dog walking in the direction of the Home Depot. It stopped dead in its tracks as we drove past it, watching us until I no longer saw it. That entire week was filled with horrific events, but the one that really shook me to my core was the night I heard these yells outside of my bedroom window. My aunt and uncle lived on a farm, so they had sheep and goats. I woke up to this strange noise coming from the barn. It's 2 a.m. I'm petrified. Every minute that passed, the noise was getting closer and closer. This kept going for the next 3 hours. By the time my uncle woke up for work, the noise felt like it was being yelled into my ear. I can't describe the noise and I don't want to. I immediately told my uncle, who went out and checked to see if anything was out there. Nothing. I try my best to forget those moments, but they always resurface. I've told countless people, but they all just laugh. I've never been a real believer of religious figures, but those events somewhat made me believe that there may be something powerful out there.